Welcome. My name is Jason Massey with VMware, and today we're going to talk about Cloud Foundation and vVols, or virtual volumes, and talk about some of the big benefits that we have with that functionality and what you can do with vVols and Cloud Foundation. And with me, I've got some of our storage partners. Donald, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Hi, I'm Donald Schubot. I'm Director of Strategic Alliances here at Pure Storage.
And Paul?
Hey, Jason, good morning. My name is Paul Morrissey. I'm a Director of Product Management at Hitachi Vantara, focused on the VMware ecosystem.
And Eric?
Thank you, Jason. Eric Siebert. I'm the Product Manager for VMware Integration at Hewlett Packard Enterprise.
And Jody?
Hey, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity. Jody Hoagland. I'm the Global Technical Evangelist for Dell Technologies with a focus on PowerStore, but really kind of deal with the entirety of the primary storage portfolio inside of the product group at Dell Technologies.
Great. Well, thank you guys all for joining in. Hopefully we can get a good discussion going on here. So I'm going to kick it off first with kind of the big value. And when we launched Cloud Foundation 4.0, we added the capability of being able to do vVols as principal storage on your workload domains. So now when customers get to 4.0 or above, they have the option to either do it as principal or as supplemental. And so there's a lot of benefits. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So with my first question that I want to ask you guys is, why do you think vVols adds so much value to Cloud Foundation? Paul, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, excellent. So we've seen a lot of customer adoption for VCF. Obviously, Hitachi, we have a platform that, with UCP RS, which provides VCF with vVols and vSAN. And what we're seeing for customers is obviously there's certain application workloads which naturally gravitate towards external storage, whether it's resilient applications, they just trust the external storage platform, but also they want an ability where they can get access to that storage through a familiar interface such as storage policy-based management. So I think the combination of resilient, trusted external storage they've used for years, plus the simplicity of access through policy-based management and lifecycle management that VCF brings a really good story for customers to embark on.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of interest and like you said, that external storage, there's a lot of usage for that functionality, and having that capability with vVols and Cloud Foundation is really, I've seen a lot of customer interest in that. Eric, what have you guys seen kind of in that value or adoption in that area?
Yeah, we're seeing more and more inquiries on VCF, and we actually have a dedicated team, and all they do is build reference architectures for VCF and that. So once you guys picked up the support for vVols, we built an external storage into all of our reference architectures. But with 4.0 and now being able to use vVols is the perfect fit, because VCF is all about automation, and so is vVols. vVols is about automating your storage management, not having to manually provision all that stuff. So yeah, we've added it to our reference architectures, and we're seeing more and more customers looking to go to VCF, just basically simplify their environment and simplify all their operational aspects of that, including storage, and vVols does exactly that.
Yeah, definitely that automation, not having to kind of do that manual programmatic, I got to do this operations all day, and really kind of building that in. I definitely see the value there where customers really appreciate that. Jody, how about you? What are you guys seeing?
I would agree with my peers on the other side there, of that customers looking at the ecosystem of automation, orchestration, and trying to make life simpler with these extremely large scale deployment methodologies, where you're dealing with a lot of different landscapes of applications, some heritage legacy applications, next generation, Kubernetes type deployment methodologies. And then when you look at what VCF brings to the table with kind of this simplified plane, vVols under the covers, takes that down. Even from our lens, it takes it down into the storage layer and creates that ecosystem of simplicity, the policy-based management that was already mentioned. So being able to do things at the top level that really just pushes it all the way down to the lowest level in a very simplified way. So I think that's what we see customers looking at, is saying, how do I start to take this sprawl and really make it much more simpler to use with a policy-based driven infrastructure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And Donald, how about you guys? What are you guys seeing?
So a lot of our customers that are moving to Cloud Foundation are definitely some of our larger customers, right? They're moving to flat stack. It's a larger architecture, but they're historical companies that have had their private clouds already running. So that's fabric flexibility of really being able to use what's already deployed across their data center, fiber channel, iSCSI as principal storage, right? And leveraging vVols to do that. It allows them to consume a lot of what's already out there. So it's less of an uplift moving to a cloud consumption type portal like VCF. I think one of the other kind of major things that I'm seeing with it as well is, historically coming from a service provider, right, is being able to allow that end consumer who's that VMware admin to be able to do all the core storage functionalities and offload that from tickets into a service provider and being able to consume those as needed. It's really a big help there as well.
Yeah, and one of the common things that you guys all kind of talked about was really that policy-based management. So we know that when customers are building up Cloud Foundation, they've got their workload domain, and that's HCI vSAN based, and so they're already using SPBM to manage that. And now that we've added vVols, we've now are able to extend that and make it seamless to manage both external and internal storage across the entire environment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really, like you said, all of you said that was really, you're seeing your customers really appreciate that level and being able to manage. And when you're talking about the scale, like you said, service providers, some of these really large enterprises, that really adds a big value there because, managing stuff without SPBM or your external storage, that's a pretty daunting task when we're talking about really large scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just add to that. VCF is an excellent platform. I think vVols from the customers I interact with gives them additional flexibility, right? So they're not storage constrained with their existing workload domains. They can set workload domains with a combination of vSAN and vVols, where other customers prefer to maybe do a workload domain with vVols just because of the business apps they're serving in that particular workload domain. I think ultimately it's kind of flexibility, but also with vVols, they don't end up going slower, right? Because of policy-based management, it just becomes a natural fit into VCF, so they continue to go fast with the VCF platform with vVols as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that piece. Yeah, it becomes seamless, right? It's just an easy way to migrate if they're already using any of this functionality. And then
I think that seamless, Jason, is key there. When we have customers, especially you have the large scale enterprise doing a lot of different things with legacy applications, up and coming applications, next generation applications. But on top of that as well, you could have, we actually have, smaller customers that are transformative with their application development methodologies where they're doing, these, container-based deployment methods, which could literally be spinning up hundreds or thousands of instances of storage that they're there 1 second and then they're gone right the next second. And that becomes very tedious to try to manage, to your point, in those, legacy mentalities or legacy methodologies, which there's still plenty of earthly use cases for that. But for these next generation application developers and development methodologies with vVols and the seamless capability of policy-based management, it becomes a lot simpler.
Right. Yeah, that exactly what you're talking about there is, when we've got these customers that have several different applications, several different storage requirements, trying to manage that at the granularity and scale that you would need when you're talking about hundreds of instances, right? That just becomes almost unmanageable without some type of mechanism to control how you're going to manage the storage capabilities. Plus, imagine trying to provision out, hundreds of data stores to try and do that if you needed all these different types of storage capabilities. Yeah, so all these points are absolutely valid and currently used. We hear, like you said, we hear a lot of customers using these features, whether it's at a small scale or a very large scale. Eric, was there anything on that piece, right, when we're talking about the scale and all these applications that you guys are doing?
Yeah, and I just want to point out that vVols benefits the smallest customer up to the largest customer in that, but the benefits of vVols really scale exponentially with your management, the larger you are. And that's the larger your environment, the more benefits you get out of vVols. So those VCF environments that are typically pretty large, you get more benefits because it's less management, less overhead. But the benefits of vVols, are for everybody. And that, that's not just for VCF. So scale is, you get more overhead when you scale your environments and that. So vVols does have greater benefits for the bigger customers, but the benefits are also there for smaller ones as well.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next question. Are you guys seeing with Cloud Foundation and VCF and Tanzu and CNS, are you seeing some adoption on kind of the DevOps, the Kubernetes type of functionality within the Cloud Foundation and vVols functionality? Eric, how about you? What do you guys see?
Haven't seen too much yet in that. I think the benefits are clear there as well, because policy-based management is perfect for that environment and that, with Tanzu and all that, so that's a great fit as well. Just haven't seen the adoption yet there. I'm sure it's coming and that, because that is a great fit as well. And, vVols works a lot better with that environment than traditional VMFS.
Hmm.
Yeah, same here too. I think a lot of our customers, I think, are in the evaluation stage, getting close to pre-production with Tanzu. We've spent a lot of effort creating reference architectures with Tanzu, kind of show customers how they can leverage Tanzu, VCF, and the vCF vVols combination, kind of give customers a really flexible infrastructure to meet those modern application needs that customers are embarking on. So I think it's just a matter of time. I think over the next 3 months, those customers start rolling into production. And we're quite bullish on Tanzu, I think, and vVols. I think that combination provides a lot of value add that customers will accrue as well.
And I'll kind of echo what Paul was saying, right? Is lots of POCs, lots of people kind of testing the waters with it. But I think what we're really seeing now, right, is from the Tanzu front is you are getting the infrastructure admins or cloud admins now to kind of manage that Kubernetes instance, which Tanzu is a great fit for, right? You're not seeing what we talked about a few years ago, where the developer is going to be the one up and troubleshooting their own environment with containers and in the future. And so I think this is where you start getting that automation with vVols, integrating it into Tanzu, right? We've co-written our pure validated designs with you all on Tanzu and FlashArray with vVols, and that continues to drive more and more kind of thought leadership around our customers about, hey, how do we move to containers and how do we do it with an easy uplift where our infrastructure admins aren't having to go from mainframe to x86, right? They can just kind of add it to their daily task with a common interface that they already know.
Jody, how about you guys? Are you guys seeing any interest or people testing the waters?
Yeah, I really appreciate the candor with Eric kicking it off with, it's discussion points. Is it there yet? But can you see it going there? Yes, right. So I would agree wholeheartedly with my peers and the fact that there are many customers that are putting the toe in the water, if not already have a foot in the water, right? And they're kind of getting up to knee depth. But that simplification is where things come into play, because we've already made the leap. I think from my lens, from my point of view, we've pretty much made the leap of your traditional fixed storage admin person, server admin person, OS admin, virtual admin. These are all kind of the same architect now. They have to be able to be very diverse in the landscape of IT infrastructure. And be very modular and be very quick. And that's what, Tanzu and Kubernetes grid capabilities is bringing those next generation application development methodologies and container deployment methods. It's expediting, that capability in a very simplified form. So I think being able to see customers look at it, say, okay, let me get my arms around this, which is kind of where we've been over the past several months, to now I'm getting my arms around this and I'm ready to start taking this to the next level. I agree. I think we're going to start to see some pretty extensive adoption as we move forward over the next several months.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what we're hearing too, right? It's customers, right? We've got Cloud Foundation, then we've added vVols. Now they're understanding that, that amazing fit with the Kubernetes and persistent volumes and how well they fit with vVols. It's a perfect match. And then of course, we mentioned the scale and the management capabilities. These are all just absolute natural fits. And like you said, customers are wow, look, I've got this infrastructure that's already fit for being able to go down this aisle as well as other applications, whether it's legacy or, new stuff. So yeah, definitely we're hearing the same thing as what you guys are hearing. Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how it's going to be used, because that's really where sometimes you see customers that are, wow, we started using it this way and this is the value we saw, and oh well, we're using it this way. So I think there'll be some really neat stuff that comes out on that aspect as far as Tanzu and CNS and Kubernetes and that whole realm. Is there another question that I want to kind of bring up maybe in this general area was, are you seeing customers kind of where there's a value with that mix of vVols and Cloud Foundation that they weren't able to do before? That maybe it was something, there's a unique feature, or maybe it gives them a benefit that says, I couldn't do this before because of either whether it was operational inefficiency or capabilities or whatever it might be. Jody, have you seen anything there in that aspect that maybe it's kind of unique?
When you talk about particularly when you start getting into the data mobility aspects and cloud integration and interoperability between pieces of infrastructure, those things seem to become more prevalent in the conversation. Particularly with VCF and vVols, it's really interesting now when you start talking about the first class citizenship of storage, and used to where you were breaking out, well, a workload domain versus a management domain. You had vSAN implementations and then primary storage as supplemental aspects. But the primary storage as supplemental is kind of graduating in because of vVols. It allows those core array features and functionalities that bring best of breed capabilities and simplicity, and kind of offloads that aspect. It graduates that up right into the stack, and VCF, along with vVols, really it's the enablement right for that capability to kind of graduate up into that simplicity level of automation at the VCF construct. So that's where I see customers when I'm having conversations and globally with customers about this. Is I think the real interesting aspect is customers beginning to wrap their minds around this capability. They're starting to see that it's no longer just a supplemental sidecar type workload scenario. Leveraging VCF, the breadth that brings, and now with vVols in the picture, it just graduates it up, right? And it's like, okay, well, I don't have to think of this in different terms anymore, right? It's just part of what I get to now be able to do with my applications and running my infrastructure.
Right. Paul,
I think another area too is around, we see this trend around disaggregated storage, right? Where customers want to have compute clusters, but also access a lot of capacity on disaggregated storage. I think from our perspective, we educate customers that vVols and external storage is probably the most mature disaggregated storage that customers can access. So certainly from a VCF perspective, as you put those capacity heavy applications in those workload domains, the ability to access vVols for that large capacity as a disaggregated storage is really a nice feature for customers to take advantage of. So they can continue to go fast, as I mentioned, with VCF, and not be slowed down to purchase new additional compute clusters to add capacity. So that's certainly one I've seen a number of customers kind of gravitate towards as well.
Donald, how about you?
Yeah, so I think that disaggregated architecture with the storage, right, it's allowing the architects to kind of go through their hardware refreshes and adopt VCF a lot easier, especially at scale, right? It's something that's known, it's tried and true to them, right? And it just cuts out a lot of the decision making you have to do kind of prior to vVols being there. And then as they're going through, as they're trying to get their internal customers to adopt this kind of private cloud, right? It's taking those last holdouts, right? The database administrators and the people that are holding things still in a physical environment and saying, look, we can provide all these array features, right? From QoS to unmapped, any of these things, right? Snapshots and replicating to development environments, we can give all of that to you while still optimizing your environment and the company's environment around a virtual infrastructure. So I think as you're starting to limit some of those architectural decisions, right, it allows it to become adopted a lot more quickly and a lot more efficiently in these companies.
Eric, how about you? What are you guys seeing? Same thing?
Yeah, we're seeing some customers go all in on VCF, and disaggregated is important to them as storage tends to be the most consumed resource, and they want to grow their environment larger without adding more compute power to it, but just extending storage and that. And vVols is the perfect fit. So we're actually working with a couple of key customers right now to make that all work. The whole recipe of VCF, vVols, and our DHCI product, and that, to be able to build the environment to scale the way they want it to scale, and not can be stuck in that just scaling compute and storage all at once. So yeah, definitely. And that I think that the vVols is a great way to our customers extend their environments without having to extend the other resources.
Yeah, so on that subject, I mean, we've been talking about Cloud Foundation and vVols. I do want to kind of I want to deviate a little bit from the Cloud Foundation and just talk about vVols in general, and kind of what are you guys seeing on the adoption? I mean, we're seeing the adoption has just been going through the roof. And I wanted to see kind of what you guys are seeing and what customers, what's their opinion when you see them use it, or if they're interested in it, and kind of how that goes. Paul, what are you guys seeing?
Yeah, similarly. So I mean, I think since vSphere 6.7 U3 and some of the new features that come in vSphere 7, we'll continue to see accelerated adoption of vVols into production environments. I think for a lot of our customers too, they've been waiting for us to deliver on integrated replication services as part of the vVol paradigm. So we just released that integrated replication services, which is going to be key requirements, so they can have build their vVols, deploy their vVols for the VMs, but also ensure that those VMs can be protected remotely to remote centers, and eventually get the active configuration. So I think with us delivering that feature, we've now seen customers saying, okay, now we are ready to go and go full steam into vVols for even more larger critical environments.
Mm-hmm. Donald, how about you? What you guys seeing a lot of adoption?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the last 12 to 18 months, it's kind of shifted from a why vVols conversation to a why not vVols conversation, right? With the the latest VASA versions, right, with the arrays kind of picking up new features and kind of getting closer to feature parity with just a standard array type volume. We're seeing more and more customers wanting to use all of those features within their VMware environment. And so now it's more, is there a niche use case that just, is something that, maybe a single VMFS volume or something works for, but we're going to use vVols, opposed to, oh, why do we need to use this? Or what one use case do I need this for versus my historical VMFS data source?
Jody, how about you?
Yeah, I think, Donald's comment of, why not vVols, I think is probably, kind of the big thing. I've been watching this and having conversations around it for about 6 years. And every year it's like, you see more momentum, you see more momentum, you see more momentum. And now I think we've made that transition to go, okay, why not? And I think that the why not to the point where, from our lens on the Dell technology side, we created PowerStore X with that. I mean, it literally is running ESXi and has vVols, right? So we as a company, we've made that transition to say, look, this is such a streamlined capability that we're going to leverage it natively, within our core functionality. And I think that in and of itself speaks, to, what our lens is, what our view is, and how customers are adopting, right? This it is an accelerated growth pattern, and more customers every time we walk in the door, whether they're pre-existing with us or with some of the other gentlemen on the phone, that's the conversation of, hey, can you do this? How do you support this? How do we integrate this? Because this is where we want to go, right? So those are core aspects of the conversations that I think that we have day to day.
Yeah, I've had some customers that I've done an initial overview, say maybe like Donald said, 12, 18 months ago. And then the next conversation is, how can we use this? We're upgrading our infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're going in the right direction where even if we're not going to use it right now, we know we want to use vVols. And so, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the, why not, or, are there any issues where maybe I shouldn't, or, and so a lot of customers are really interested, especially, we've got this here, no RDMs. We've got a lot of customers I've seen that are really, they're tired of dealing with RDMs. They're not, it used to be a performance thing. That's not the case anymore. VMFS, vVols are easily parity, if not sometimes even maybe better. They're definitely easier, right? So if you move to vVols and move your applications that need that capability that an RDM gave you, now it becomes so much easier to manage, so much easier to take care of those, WSFC, Oracle RAC, whatever it might be able to not have to individually provision, especially for the storage admin, right? Storage admin not having to go, oh, I've got to create, 3 new RDMs for one set of application machines. Now that's just the storage or the VI admin can go in and say, yeah, no problem. I'm going to set up a WSFC. I'm going to use vVols. It's going to have all the same functionality, actually more. And
I saw that really switch. I think Paul mentioned it with the 6.7 update 3 when
right.
that kind of was that broke the dam, right? I mean, I started having many more conversations, and that was coming up more and more after that point that Paul made. That seemed to be the kicker.
Yeah, I think all of you guys have brought stories to me about that. And that was it. It was like once we added that SCSI 3 persistent reservations and officially supported, WSFC and Oracle RAC, there was a big jump. I mean, it was like the curve just started going up. Eric, I know you guys saw a big jump too with that.
Yeah, we've been tracking since 6.0. We have telemetry data that tracks customer usage and to what extent they're using it and that. So early on, yeah, it was very slow in that I don't think anybody was ready for vVols those first few years. It had to mature. Partners had to catch up. It had to be able to scale. All the barriers that were there early on are gone now, essentially. So there really are no reasons not to use vVols anymore. And that our data is showing that it's starting to track a little bit better than it has in the past. I think the new feature sets that work better with vVols are going to push that up even more. Things like the VCF, the Tanzu, all work better with vVols and VMFS. So I think we're going to see that adoption start to scale up more and more now, and that which will be a good thing. And that the benefits are obvious, clear, but I don't think customers really have the motivation they need to go to vVols. And I think if like you said, once you talk to customers and explain all this, I think the light bulb goes off, and then they want to make the dive into vVols. But yeah, the benefits are definitely there, and I think the adoption there is going to scale up and up going forward.
Paul, I know that Hitachi has been doing a lot of stuff on the vVols, and like you said, you added some new functionality and features with the VASA. And are you same thing? Are you seeing quite a bit of an adoption uptick on that?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of customers love their LUNs, right? And certainly we've been finding the status quo for a lot of customers too. But we're seeing even like the largest enterprise customers who are generally pretty conservative, once they set up a small pocket of vVols in the environment, they experience the advantages. They quickly morph that into their large environments. I think for a lot of customers, just getting that familiarity with vVols. I have not seen one customer go back from vVols to VMFS because they just understand and appreciate the simplicity, the automation, and while not losing any advantages of a fiber channel external based storage. It's just all a plus for those customers. Absolutely, yes.
I think you hit on something else too there, Paul, right? Is they start with a small vVol implementation aside their VMFS, right? And the way it's implemented now, it's very easy for customers to do that. And so we're seeing the same thing through telemetry data, right? Is somebody will try them, they'll see some benefits, they'll put a few applications on them, but then any net new storage they need, it just continues to go into that, and it continues to grow until they need to refresh their infrastructure or expand it.
Yeah, and I think because it's so easy, right? A lot of customers, when I'm talking to them, they have this misunderstanding that they think vVols is a replacement, right? It's a rip and replace, like they've got to do something. And once they understand that, oh, wait a minute, if I've got the correct vSphere version and a supported hardware, I can just add it. And then they add it. And like you said, they start using it. They start seeing how easy it is to use. and just do a storage vMotion over. They don't even have to take their VMs down in most cases. And pretty soon they're like, why haven't we done this sooner? I think one of the best quotes that I ever heard was, when they were saying, what was the big benefit of vVols? And they said, it was just easy. They're like,
Yeah.
we set it up and they're like, it was just easy. Like we didn't have to manage LUNs. We didn't have to manage RDMs. The data store could be as, in the zettabytes. They're like, it was just easy.
Jason, my lack of hair and the graying of my hair will be a bit telling, but I can remember, a few decades ago, having conversations with database administrators. Oracle folks were notorious for this. Of when you went in and started talking about next generation data protection schemas at the drive level and virtual RAID, they're like, they wanted to walk in a data center and like point to the drive that U01 file system lived on, right? And it's kind of that progression. It took these next generation dynamic RAID schemas that have been around for a while now, and a lot of people are using. It took them a while to adjust to say, I can trust this. This is a lot simpler, and I just let the system do what it does, and it makes my life easy. And I think it's a very similar parity here of, looking at things. Well, this is the way that I've always done it. I'm used to this. I want to go touch this or know exactly where this is. And now you get into this, the virtualization of virtualization, right? And it makes life so much simpler. And I think we've crossed that threshold to where now it's not just, is that going to work? Can I trust it? We've crossed that threshold into, yeah, we get it. And that's where we're going.
Yeah, I think the DBAs are the big one, right? Because they wanted certain, like array-based snapshots. That was always a big one. And now with vVols, that's obviously no problem. And we can even do managed or unmanaged. So they can have the vSphere admin do a snapshot, or they can have the database admin do a snapshot. So, that was always a big hard stop for a lot of DBAs that I've heard. They're like, I need to be able to do this for a refresh or a volume, a copy or whatever they're going to do. And once you explain, well, you can do that, but you also get the benefits of virtualization, then it's like, well, wait a minute. Now you mean I don't have to, I'm not having to manage a single piece of hardware, right? I don't have to have bare metal type of stuff. I can move around a little bit. There's definitely, you start to see a little more, the guard comes down a little bit on the DBA side. Yeah, those were definitely the hardest nut to crack, so to speak. Anybody, so this has been an awesome conversation. I think there's some amazing value here. Is there anybody, I'll let everybody kind of go through, and I'm just going to go through my list here in order that I see everybody. Maybe some closing thoughts on what you guys see, whether it's vVols specific, Cloud Foundation and vVols, Cloud Foundation, Tanzu, vVols, whatever it might be. So Donald, how about you? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think really this kind of next year as we come out of COVID and you're seeing these 2 years of kind of hardware refreshes and re-architectures kind of now hitting and everybody putting their money back into it again, you're going to really start seeing this kick up, both from we want to modernize and move to a container-based application, or just kind of that self-service internal cloud. And I've been lucky enough to get to play with Cloud Foundation since the old Evo rack days, right, where it actually did hardware provisioning and everything. And you finally seen it get to a point with these implementations like FlashStack and others with the compute stack where you're getting the best of both worlds. And I think as you're seeing a lot of repatriation coming from these public clouds, but everybody wanting the same consumption model, these very defined software-defined reference architectures are going to really kind of take off in adoption. And that's definitely what we're seeing, Jason. And thanks for having us on today.
Yeah, Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we think vVols is the future. I mean, even vVols is driving some of our next generation storage designs because we think, the vVols will be the paradigm going forward, and LUNs will slowly decrease over time. I think as customers appreciate the aspect of things like vVols for application developers, right? So we see customers deploying applications, and before an application get deployed, they have to do DR testing. But things like vVols enables those app services to actually do DR testing in a very granular basis, and so they can actually roll out those apps into production. And so vVols just like one piece that can enable those apps to get to production a lot quicker. So we do see a lot of opportunities to customers as they move to cloud and automation. vVols become a natural selection as part of that process. Just to start.
Yeah, I totally agree. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, the customers on the fence, I say don't get left behind. That it's super easy to implement, and that the benefits are there. Once you go, you're going to ask, why did I do this sooner? And it's like you said, it's the future, but the future is today. And that it's already here. It's mature. It's not something new. It's been around since 6.0. And where it's at right now, it's a perfect time to go there. And I think customers should just start looking at it, make the migration. All the new feature sets and all the new development VMware does is all vVols based. So don't get left behind. Let's start getting the vVols today, and get all those benefits going. And the VCF, it's a perfect time for that. So if customers looking to go to VCF, they should definitely be looking at vVols.
Yeah, I agree. Don't wait. There's no reason. Like we said earlier, you can add it to your existing infrastructure without impact. It's not a rip and replace. So yeah, definitely don't wait. Jody, how about you? You're gonna wrap us up.
Yeah. Again, thank you for the opportunity, Jason. It's been really fun, educational for me with my peers. Donald mentioned that hybrid cloud aspect, and that's probably one of the big conversation points that I have with customers on a daily basis. Is I think the benefits here of the stack itself, VCF coupled with Tanzu, coupled with vVols, you're talking about a very simplistic hybrid cloud stack, really, that allows you and affords you the opportunity to create this ecosystem where you can leverage, core hardened infrastructure like, purpose-built and primary storage arrays and infrastructure with all of the features and capabilities they bring to the table, and create a very simplified hybrid cloud methodology that does allow you the benefits of this dynamic expansion. One of the things we wrapped into PowerStore, for example, is the storage container construct, right? So what customers would be accustomed to of seeing in that stack, they're seeing a storage container. Well, they see the exact same thing, when it comes to PowerStore. So it's just really this simplified ecosystem that allows you to bridge that gap of what you used to do, where things are going, and yet implement that hybrid cloud strategy and on-prem capability that really sets up the simplicity of life. And as Paul and Eric said, this is where things are going. This is where all the development efforts are. And I would just echo that sentiment of not being left behind. So, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you guys again. This has been a great conversation. I'm looking forward to, continuing some of these videos. Our last one was a little while ago. We had some delays, but, we'll do some more. And again, thank you guys for coming in and discussing this with me, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.
Great. Pleasure. Good to see you guys.
Take care, Jess.